Deshratan Nigam, your thoughts on this kind of almost paradox where the BJP on one hand says that we don't believe in this sort of caste, old style identity politics, it's all about merit. But then you get into this very granular caste based, sub-region based kind of assignment of portfolios.
Vasu, in fact, I would not take it caste, but I would say it's a micromanagement of the regions within a state. And also the macro management overall of the political scenario to be unfolded in future. So caste equations do matter, but I would rather give importance to the micro regions within the state, which are being like Purvanchal or the Awadh, as just pointed out. So that's a very clever strategy, I would say, and especially the kind of...
No, but
But
one
what
moment.
about talent?
One moment. I would say that this is a strategy which has been followed since time immemorial, Mr. Deshratan Nigam.
Yes.
All political parties have done this.
No, but the BJP has perfected that art. Others probably have to learn a lot from BJP. And the fact remains, that, whatever you may say, politics is competitive. You have to win elections, and only then governance comes into the question.
No, but the issue is that when you say that you're a party with a difference, the idea is that you don't do this kind of quota system, that you just say, listen, I'll assemble the best people for the job. I don't care where they come from. But this is very much, in fact, this is going even more granular quota-wise than possibly I've ever seen covering politics.
By the way, that's Mr. Ajay Bhatt, who's going to represent the Nainital Udham Singh Nagar area in Uttarakhand. He's a first-term MP and lands himself a position at the high table straight away.
Right. So, because Dr. Nishank was dropped, Uttarakhand, I suppose you needed to also have a representation from there. So, that could also explain why he's been elevated. But Mr. Sapra, Charan Singh Sapra, Congress Party, what do you make of it so far? Because in addition to the people who've been inducted, look at also the number of people who've been dropped. Would you at least compliment the government on that they've had to take some tough decisions, dropping close to a dozen non-performers?
See, I feel they have taken this sort of tough decision because they needed a damage control badly. Or probably, I see this as also a diversionary tactic from the failed economy, from the failed unemployment situation, from the failed COVID management or the failed GST management system which this government has shown. And I feel just to cover up, they have done this exercise, and probably the actual fault is with the engine of the train. But here what we are seeing that the coaches are being changed. So actual fault is with the engine, but coaches are being changed. That's what we are observing. And we are seeing that how the ministers are being rewarded also, like MOS Finance is being rewarded. He's being promoted for putting the economy into shambles. And I feel if performance is the criteria, then actual resignation should be of finance minister, should be of petroleum minister, Mr. Pradhan, the agriculture minister, Mr. Narendra Singh Tomar, and also the defense minister, Rajnath Singh, because under whom China has come into the boundary of India.
No.
So these are the
Mr. Sapra, I know that, when if wishes were horses, as they say, you're asking for the resignation of the entire cabinet. But at the moment, we have, again, representation from UP. Okay. Representation from UP, Mr. B.L. Verma, Rajya Sabha MP from Uttar Pradesh. He stepped up to the mic. He's going to be entering the cabinet as well. But Nalini Singh, just wanted to ask you that, those big sort of dropping of the names that Javed was talking about, many of those coming in at the very last minute before the portfolios, before the swearing in. Ravi Shankar Prasad, Prakash Javadekar, quite surprising.
Vasu, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fine. Vasu, I think that this is a definitely resignation at the last moment. I don't think that this is all calibrated. These are not people. These two ministers that you mentioned, as well as, these two especially, are the vocal ministers. And they have a great sense of purpose in what they're doing and a huge amount of, self-estimation and empowerment. So these people have obviously felt slighted, I would imagine, and that's why it's come at the last moment. But we are actually, one should do a little bit of a study, because the more, reticent ministers who did not promote themselves, such as Pokhriyal, such as Gangwar, such as even Harshvardhan, these are not people who were up there like Ravi Shankar Prasad was and Javadekar was, but even they were dropped. But I would say one element that I find is Meenakshi Lekhi. She has for 7 years held her tongue. She has never said anything controversial apropos the government, and she has always sailed very close to the wind and has been rewarded. But Vasu, I think the larger point is what I was calling earlier the political cross-dressing. You've got here, you're taking Jyotiraditya Scindia and saying it's all par for the course. Now he's just a BJP person.
Right.
You are taking Narayan Rane, who's had a criminal record, money laundering record, and we are saying we are overlooking that. Now he's our cabinet minister. There are so many things that are happening that we are not talking about. But I do think that this is a great cleanup. 20% of the cabinet gone is not a small thing.
All right, I just want to jump in.
Yes, Vishnu, come in.
We've got Ajay Kumar being sworn in over
Vishnu.
there, Lok Sabha MP, second term as an MP. He served 3 decades in public life. He's 60 years old. Awadh is the area that he represents. That's Ajay Kumar, who's just been sworn in. So we are about a little more than halfway down that list. It started at 6 p.m., so that swearing in continues. Chauhan Devusin is the next person. He's the Lok Sabha MP from Kheda in Gujarat. It's going to be a second term in MP. Let's just listen in.
No, but Vishnu, this is the interesting point. As we now see Mr. Chauhan Devi Singh, I think he's going to be the 4th MP from Gujarat who's come in. Deshrata Nigam, do you want to respond to that? That firstly, what do you make of the fact that you've dropped so many prominent ministers, particularly Ravi Shankar Prasad? Did that come as a surprise to you? Deshrata Nigam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
I can hear you.
What do you make of that? That you drop someone like a Ravi Shankar Prasad, but then you've also taken someone like a Narayan Rane, who, as Nalini Singh pointed out, I mean, first, he's an import from the Shiv Sena and the Congress, and second, the BJP itself has levelled multiple charges against him.
The fact is that if people like Ravi Shankar Prasad and Harshvardhan have been asked to, resign, and they have resigned, that means they are thinking about them to provide some kind of a responsibility in the BJP organization. Probably a big role, because Bhupendra Yadav has come from the party inside the cabinet. There are vacancies out there. That is a distinct possibility. And second, a strategy, whether it is in the Ministry of Law or Health, is very time specific. Certain strategies have worked. Now new strategies are required, new fresh ideas are required, and therefore new people are being brought in. That is also a possibility and the thought process which may be going on. And obviously, politics is competitive. Therefore, you would see people coming from Gujarat, UP, and the other states where the elections are going on. And then that's perfectly normal in politics, Vasu.
Okay. But I guess, and Vishnu is also joining us, that then how is this different, Javed Ansari, if Javed Ansari is there, is this business as usual politics? Javed Ansari has left us, but Nalini Singh, then is it just business as usual politics? If you say, I'll give regions representation, I'll give caste representation?
Vasu, are you asking me?
Yes, Nalini Singh.
Okay, I feel that you are absolutely right. Except in this case, there is you can see authoritarianism playing out more than in other governments. And what I see over here is caste, allies, region, and I think later on you might even see religion and messaging. And what we are missing out is how to do the Congress party in. Because the most amazing thing is that when you look at the Panchayat election results of 2017
yes.
And the Zilla Panchayat and all, Congress actually had a huge amount of votes. It was number 2 by very, very slim margins. So I think the Prime Minister and Amit Shah know much more than we do. They have been through the entire exercise of looking at the Panchayat elections and the amount of votes that the Congress drew. So the idea now would be to pulverize the Congress even more in this particular, perhaps last but one reshuffle.
In fact,
so I think that they've done a good job there.
I just wanted to go across to Mr. Charan Singh Sapra for a moment. In a sense, if you look at all of the high-profile exits, would you say that your core agenda for the next session of Parliament, the monsoon session, has essentially been written that if the key issue of the Congress has been non-performance of the government across ministries, then the fact that you've got 3 very high-profile resignations has essentially written the script for you?
See, I would like to here say that actual resignations, like the economy of the country is in shambles, I have already said. The NPA is hovering around the GDP is hovering around the -8%. The NPAs have gone for more than 25 lakh crores. The bank frauds have gone above 6 lakh crores. We are seeing there's a rampant crony capitalism also. Actual resignation is required of the finance minister, Nirmala
right. So
Sitharaman.
the fact that there are 3 high-profile resignations isn't good enough for you. That essentially, you are now going to ask for a lot more.
Of course,
if you look at the resignation of the health minister, Mr. Sapra, in the last 1.5 years or so, there's perhaps been no portfolio more important than health, given the emergency that we are in. Right, so you've got the government accepting that something is wrong. Not only the minister, the MOS health is also gone. Right, there'll be a new health minister, new MOS. Will this pave the way for a complete change? Because there are lots of advisors there as well. Isn't this an indicator that this government, wants to try and change to make things better?
See, Vishnu, beyond this indicator, I would like to say that National Disaster Management Authority, that comes under Prime Minister. Actually, Prime Minister heads this National Disaster Management Authority. Now, if there are any faults with the Health Ministry, then automatically the Prime Minister is also linked to it. Prime Minister is also responsible for it. So he should also take the onus of the mismanagement which the country has seen during COVID management. So it is all about what I earlier said, that problem is with the engine of the train, but we are seeing a reshuffle or the coaches being changed.
Okay, well, just now we saw Vishnu, we saw Shri Kapil Moreshwar Patil. He is one of the Maharashtra contingent. He's from Bhiwandi. He just came and took an oath. Before that, we had another MP from Karnataka, Bhagwant Khuba from Bidar in North Karnataka. He took an oath, and now Pratima Bhaumik, who's from Tripura West. So we are seeing now, the Northeast also being represented.
Background is in farming.
Background in farming, right.
And she's a first-time MP. She's serving her first term as an MP presently.
Right.
From Tripura West, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Interesting that lots of faces from the northeast of the country who have been represented this time.
That's right. So totally in all, according to the government's own handout, 5 faces from the northeast coming into the ministry this time, in keeping with this overall sort of social engineering, regional engineering. But what about talent engineering?
Right.
This is the big question, Deshrata Nigam, that given that you have such big important portfolios that are now fallen vacant, health, INB, IT, all of that, do you think that you look at these faces that have come in, and does that inspire you? You think any of these people up for it?
In fact, Vasu, let me tell you, just because some of these people are unknown does not mean they are not talented. They are educated, they have the experience at the ground level, and they are getting that experience in the center now. And slowly,
who would you say, Desh, when you look at the new list, give me 2-3 names which jump out at you and say, okay, these could be high performers?
See, Rajiv Chandrasekhar is one of them, and Meenakshi Lekhi is another who can perform. These two immediately come into my name, and there are others also. And if you look at the entire, the cabinet, there are 68 having graduate degrees, 13 lawyers, 6 doctors, 5 engineers, 3 civil servants. So overall, these are professionally qualified people. Just because some of them are unknown does not mean they are not talented. And today's experience that they would be gaining, they would become senior, ministers tomorrow, and they will be known.
Right.
They have to perform or perish. So therefore, they are also being tested at the same time, and none of these people would want to, perish. They have to perform.
Right.
Subhash Sarkar is the next person being sworn in now. He's a Lok Sabha MP from Bankura in Bengal, serving his first term as MP. He's also a doctor. So some leaders of the BJP in Bengal being rewarded, some haven't been rewarded. So it's a bit of a balance as far as Bengal is concerned, and interesting given the fact that the BJP did disastrously in the elections over there, but still some important representation coming in.
So, Smita Prakash, ANI also joining us. Smita, I just wanted to first get your take, because it's the first time we're having a chance to talk to you after that, that big news about the resignations, Prakash Javadekar and Ravi Shankar Prasad. Your quick take on that. What did you make of that?
Yeah, when I was last on your show during the daytime, I think we were all shocked that it's going to be Ravi Shankar Prasad who's getting the axe. In fact, you asked me if I'm not mistaken, and I thought he won't get the axe. He'll get 2 MOSs to assist him. That's what was my take. Goes to show how much we can guess as far as this government making its cabinet is concerned. You just showed right now, people taking oath, and this is across the board. Everybody saying, "Par hum inko to jante hi nahi hai." That's just it. 5 ministers from 4 states in the northeast: Assam, Arunachal, Manipur, Tripura. So these are people who are not known to the people like us. The PLUs of Delhi, Delhi reporters. They may not know these people, but they come with a wealth of experience. Sure. They have won. Some of them have won in state assemblies. Some of them have won in come to the center. As far as the resignation, coming back to your question,
yes.
On the big 12 who have resigned, it's quite shocking, because all the op-eds that we have been reading in the past, in the run-up to this cabinet formation, nobody guessed that so many would go. 1 out of 5 has gone from this
Smita, let me ask
Modi's
you this.
team. Now, it just goes to show that there seems to be. Go ahead.
Smita, I just trying to understand what the bigger message then, and we've spoken a lot about representation, sub-regional representation, be that as it may, but it's these 3 or 4 big names, right, of ministers who've been let go of. Ravi Shankar Prasad. Internationally, there's been condemnation of India as far as his battle against Twitter is concerned. India's handling of COVID has been seen to be disastrous internationally. The health minister Harshvardhan has gone, his deputy has gone as well. Prakash Javadekar, in many senses, the face of the government, the primary spokesperson of the government, he's somebody who's gone as well. So I'm just trying to understand if this has something to do with fixing or changing the image of the government, not just nationally, but perhaps even internationally.
I think it's more than image, I think it's content too, Vishnu, because if it had been just the INB minister gone, just the health minister gone, or just Ravi Shankar Prasad gone, it's not that. IT minister, every ministry has been shaved off, either the MOS or the MOS and the center. So it's a cleanup. I think in the past, ever since this new government came, the first year was this plethora of changes that they wanted to bring in, but then came COVID and everything went into a freeze mode. And I think the Modi government has kind of figured out that they have these next 2 years to deliver on all their promises, and they're going to be heading into 2024 with 2 terms. So in just before doing that, they need to bring into effect everything that they had promised in the 2014 election,
right,
which could not be done in the 5 years, and then in the 2019 election, which was promised. They have to deliver on that. So that meant a complete overhaul. Modi has already expressed, and even Gadkari has expressed frustration with the bureaucracy not implementing some of the policies and programs,
sure,
or the sluggish bureaucracy. So I think the new team,
they will have to deliver. Okay.
I would guess that the Modi and
right,
Amit Shah team want is to implement and deliver.
Okay. As we speak, Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, who's from Inner Manipur, first term MP, he's stepping up to take an oath. Let me just ask you, we've got Ashutosh also joining us, as is Sushmita Deb of the Congress, Asif Bhamla also, BJP, is with us. Ashutosh, your take on what you're seeing so far?
Vasu, I think if the exercise has been so mammoth, there has to be some basic reasons for this. Otherwise, no government and no prime minister changes its government almost completely. It's a completely new government in that sense. So what has been the reason? The reason has been that the BJP government and the Modi government in the last 1.5 years has been facing the unprecedented crisis. There is a health crisis, there is an economic crisis, there is a foreign policy crisis. And that's why Mr. Harshvardhan has, if has been sacked or resigned, I do not know. But that means that is an admission on the part of the government that they messed up on the issue of the health crisis or the managing the corona. Now, my worry is that if Nirmala Sitharaman continues to be the finance minister, then what will be the shape of the economy in the coming days? Because economy has been the biggest disappointment. Many people can say and many people can argue that economy is in bad shape because of the corona. But if you go back in the March 2020, you remember the 8 consecutive quarters, the economy was slipping from 8% to 4%, and finally it was dipping below 4%. So and the unemployment was 45 years at the highest on its peak. So if that was the case of economy, obviously it has gone worsened during the corona crisis.
I just want to ask, if I may, Sushmita, your reading of this, and B, Mr. Chidambaram was very stern in his remarks when he sort of seemed to indicate that ministers and he was referring to the health minister, those who sort of work, and reflect the views entirely of the government are those who are the fall guys, and in a sense said that that's what Harshvardhan was. So, I mean, is that perhaps what the Congress now argues, that you've got a couple of ministers who are out, but they are essentially the fall guys for a larger problem in governance?
See, I think the people on this debate who are seeing this as accountability, I can tell you for sure that that's not what this is about. To my mind, it is simple. 22-23, you have a whole lot of states going into elections. Whether it's Himachal, whether it's Manipur, whether it's Tripura, whether it's Gujarat, whether it's Punjab, whether it's UP. So this cabinet reshuffle has a lot to do with those elections than Corona or any such thing. Because what Ashutosh ji said, if it was a question of accountability, the first person who should have been dropped from this cabinet is Nirmala Sitharaman. In fact, they are talking about promoting Anurag Thakur. I don't know whether it's happened. I haven't been watching TV. But this is about the next set of elections.
Let's get Asif Bhamla to respond to that. By the way, we just saw there Bharti Pawar from Maharashtra, Dindori. She just took oath. But, Asif Bhamla, this point that if you are really trying to fix governance and you're trying to fix the stress areas for the government, the economy has been in terrible shape even before the pandemic. Why is Nirmala Sitharaman still there?
Well, about Nirmala Sitharaman, obviously the decision is of the government to have to pick on the faces. There are a lot of them who have continued and a lot of them have been changed. But what I want to say,
do you agree with that? Do you agree that she's staying on there even though the economy has just under her watch been in free fall?
Well, the economy, it's not just India that the economy is troubling. It's a global aspect. We've seen the pandemic, taking the most of all of us, of the entire country, and the economies of so many countries have been doomed. Doesn't mean that we've done, doesn't mean that we got to forget or forgive. But having said that, I would still compliment the government to have dropped more than a dozen big names, you see. I mean, because it is looking for a new makeover. People who will, if you see, every aspect has been taken into consideration. We've got new faces like Ashwini Vaishnavi. He's from Wharton. So the younger faces we've got from Maharashtra. We've got fabulous representation in the form of Narayan Rani, who's got tremendous experiences as well. Then similarly in Telangana, which is the state which the BJP certainly eyed. So that also, there has been a cabinet birth that has been given. So certainly, even states where there are electoral aspects, of course, as a party, it is going to certainly give birth legitimately to those of them. And I don't think the opposition should have any objection to that. So the government is trying to have create a narrative of a changing image, okay? I mean, in the sense that they were even accommodated relatively unknown people. It's not that, I mean, big stalwarts have been just told to rest.
Okay.
All right, I just want to just tell our viewers, Mr. Bhavla, 1 second, about, who we saw in the swearing in just now.
The government is...
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Visheshwar Tudu, first time Lok Sabha MP from Odisha, from Mayurbhanj. He hails from Cuttack. So he is... he's a Lok Sabha MP serving in his first term, and he was sworn in over there. He's 56 years old. I just wanted to go back to Smita Prakash. Smita, a lot of people continue to ask about Ravi Shankar Prasad. Why would the government assess that he was not good enough in what he was doing, either as law minister, IT minister, or telecom? He seemed to sort of generate the government's policy in all these areas, a hardline nationalist position, certainly in telecom. Even on Twitter, you can call it, waging a battle against a global giant for, the sake of nationalism, which is the USP of this government. So what did he do wrong?
I am at sea. I really don't know the actual reason why he got the axe. Yes, you are right in saying that he was waging these battles, but they seem to be the government seemed to be waging these battles with its back to the wall. Now, whether it's because the government had a losing case, or whether the person who was fighting it did not put in his entire effort, that's for the government to decide. But I think a lot was being said that many of these ministers will be going to the Sangathan, will be going to the organizational level, will be helping in the states. But I don't see Mr. Javadekar or Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad going and working in the states which are going to go in for polls, which is in Punjab or in Uttar Pradesh. They are not from those states. Elections are over in Maharashtra, elections are over in Bihar. So I don't know where these two will go. So I really can't say as to why they both got the axe, because they were fronting the government as far as defending it is concerned, whether the INB ministry or whether in the law ministry. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been axed, because but what I am saying is that one doesn't really know why this happened.
No, it was quite curious. By the way, we just saw another important face from the West Bengal, Shantanu Thakur, who's an MP from Bongaon, who's also from the all-important Mathua community, very important Dalit community for the BJP in West Bengal. Young leader.
And he's young, 38, right?
Young, that's right. Young leader.
So this is where the average sort of balances out, Vasu, from going well beyond 58 to, with 38, so it comes down a little bit.
That's right. But overall, if we wanted to just look at the big picture now coming up out of this swearing in, as we now start reaching the end of this very long tail of ministers, do you feel, Sushmita Dev, that you may turn around and say that, look, this is all cosmetic and all of that, but given that if the government wanted to signal a reset, that by conducting this massive exercise, they've taken some of the sting out of the opposition's attacks?
Listen, let me make it crystal clear. This massive cabinet reshuffle is nothing to do with governance. It's still going one man when it comes to it. So who the health minister and who the finance minister is doesn't matter. But this is about preparation of the next set of elections. And please don't put so much of energy into where Ravi Shankar Prasad is going to go or no, or that he can go to Karnataka or not. He may well be sent to Gujarat to go and work there. So please, I'm again repeating myself, this is not about accountability. This is about rebooting vis-a-vis electoral politics. That's all it is. It will still be a government in which power will be totally centralized, and governance, there's going to be no change in its quality, I assure you that.
Prasad being removed have to do with electoral politics?
No, I said this reshuffle is not dropping who, to include some people. So do not think that they've dropped Ravi Prasad for this or that. They may well place him somewhere else equally important in the organization. We don't know. So don't look at it like, oh, he's been cut out of the cabinet and punished for something.
Okay.
Let's wait, Vishnu. It's just the beginning. Let's wait for the next couple of weeks and see where these people who have been dropped are now placed.
All right. Also, just while we were talking, Mr. Munjapura Mahendrabhai from Surendranagar in Gujarat just took an oath as a member of the government, and also coming up next is Mr. John Barla, who's from Alipurdwars in the northern part of West Bengal, tea garden worker. That's his region. But also Vikas Mishra of the LJP is here with us. Vikas Mishra, I believe you are in the Chirag Paswan camp of the LJP. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely not in the Chirag Paswan camp. When you're talking about Chirag Paswan, you must be talking about LJP camp.
Okay, you're saying you are LJP.
Make yourself perfectly clear.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's very clear.
You can certainly take that position at least on a television panel. But
definitely,
is it no? So
wherever you are
was
talking
that
about Chirag Paswan?
Okay, all right. Okay, fair enough. Here's the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you feel heartburn then when you saw Mr. Pashupatinath Paras coming up and taking oath, even though Chirag Paswan had said, "I will go to court, I will protest"?
I just want to very much clear. Sri Pashupatinath Paras has already been expelled from the Lok Janshakti Party. So nothing remained to say for his anti-party activities. Already he is no more with LJP. Whatever
but he's got the LJP quota. He has got inducted on the LJP quota. Now, where does that leave you?
I'm just very much clearly I'm telling you, he is not a part of LJP. LJP is Chirag Paswan. National president of LJP is only Mr. Chirag Paswan.
But
Mr. Pashupati Paras even not a part of the LJP.
No,
he
but
may
that's
not be part of the LJP, but he is now in the cabinet.
He was one of your foremost leaders. He's coming in as an LJP representative.
Already our national president, Mr. Chirag Paswan, already filed it in the court. We've seen the court everything now. Because whenever you are talking about LJP, Pashupati Kumar Paras is he has been already expelled. The party is not there. That is very much clear.
I would be very curious.
Personally,
I would be very curious, Vikas Mishra, if someone is able to actually dislodge a cabinet minister through a court order and then get themselves reappointed. If that happens, by the way, it will be, as far as I could tell, a first. If Chirag Paswan is able to pull that off.
Chirag Paswan has a strong vision for Bihar first and Bihari first. We already very much clear about that. Bihar should be on the top. Bihari should be on the top. What's wrong in that?
Okay, I just want to go across to what's happening now, Dr. L. Murugan. So this is representation from the south. There have been a couple of leaders from Karnataka. This is a leader from Tamil Nadu, from Kongu Nadu, 44 years old. He's a lawyer.
Yes.
And Vishnu, was vice chairperson of the National Commission of Scheduled Castes as well.
That's right, Vishnu. He's the state BJP president.
Yeah.
He's also a leader of the SC Dalit community, and also, as you mentioned, Tamil Nadu. So he's ticking all those different boxes, and is sort of bolstering the southern representation on this cabinet, which has been somewhat weak compared to the other states.
And Vasu, there's just one leader left after him, Nishit Pramanik. He's the Kuch Bihar Lok Sabha MP. He's been a school teacher in primary school.
Right.
And he's from Jalpaiguri in North Bengal.
Okay. So as this marathon wraps up, 1.5 hours swearing in, 43 ministers, huge, almost 80 member cabinet, Asif Bhamla tells me at the end of it, what as an Indian citizen, as a viewer, as a political analyst, what does one take away from it? Can we look at this huge bench strength and go, wow, some amazing new talent has been inducted? And if so, who? Who jumps out at you that you'd say, okay, here are people who can, who suggest
there is
governance, performance, reset, turning things around?
Of course, as we are aware that there are nearly 30 new faces that have come across, and people with huge amount of self-estimation have been incorporated into that. Of course, the poll arithmetic has to.
No. But I'm asking you to give me some names. Asif Bhamla, give me 3 names of the new inductees who you think gives you some hope that these guys will be the high performers.
You have a Bhupendra Yadav. I mean, he's an organizational man, and he's a leader of immense credentials. Then you have Virendra Kumar. You have Jyotir Scindia. I mean, these are all the new fresh. It's a fresh breeze of all. Jyotir has also been a minister earlier, so he's an experienced person as well. And he's we got Narayan Rane again. He's also a new face. So it's not that.
Narayan Rane.
It's not relatively unknown people who the government has banked
Asif Bamla, Narayan Rane, your own party made so many allegations against him of land grabbing, money laundering, all kinds of things.
And accusations are things which are and which will keep going on.
All right, so when it comes to a day like today, they don't count whatever you said in the past. Ashutosh, you had a comment to make before we take a short break.
There are a lot of things which were said in the past by so many other parties also.
Mr. Bamla, half a second. Ashutosh wants to come in.
Vishnu, if the Narayan Rane is the poster boy of this cabinet, then I have my comments to be reserved.